April 12, 2026. Sydney Olympic Park Athletics Centre. The Australian Athletics Championships 200-metre final. An 18-year-old from Ipswich, Queensland crouches into his blocks, and what happens over the next 19 seconds changes the conversation around the future of sprinting permanently. Gout Gout crosses the finish line in 19.67 seconds. A new world under-20 record, a new Australian record, and a time that is faster than Usain Bolt.
I put no limits to myself, so I personally can't tell you how good I'll come, but myself, there's no limits. I go as far as I can.
The greatest sprinter in the history of the sport ever ran as a teenager. Let that land for a moment. Bolt's fastest 200-meter time as a teenager was 19.93 seconds, set in Bermuda in 2004 when he was 17 years old. Bolt never improved on that time as a teenager. And here's the part that makes the athletics world genuinely uncomfortable. Bolt didn't run faster than Gout's 19.67. until he set his first world record of 19.30 at the Beijing 2008 Olympics at age 21. A teenager from Queensland just did something that took the greatest sprinter who ever lived until his Olympic prime to match. And the question that nobody in the sport can answer, the question that has been sitting in the back of every serious athletics mind since that April afternoon in Sydney, is this. If Gout Gout is already here at 18, where exactly does he end up? Before we talk about where Gout Gout is going, you need to understand where he came from, because the origin story is as remarkable as anything that has happened on the track. His parents, Bona and Monica, are from South Sudan, members of the Dinka people. They fled their country amid civil conflict, sought refuge in Egypt, and eventually made their way to Australia in 2006, settling in Ipswich, Queensland. Gout was born the following year in December 2007. The third of 7 children in a family that had rebuilt its entire life from nothing on the other side of the world. Even the family name carries the weight of that journey. The spelling Gout is a clerical error made during Arabic script transliteration when the family was leaving South Sudan. The correct pronunciation is closer to Gout, and Gout's father Bona has publicly stated he does not want his son associated with the name of a disease. But the name stuck, and the world now knows it. As a child, Gout did not dream of sprint records. He played football and idolized Cristiano Ronaldo. Athletics found him, not the other way around. At age 12, during a school inter-house carnival at Ipswich Grammar School, he showed up to a 100-meter race with no formal training, no spikes, no coaching background, and instantly caught the attention of Coach Di Shepherd, who has guided him ever since. Shepherd handed him his first pair of spikes and began building what has become the most exciting sprint career in a generation. The foundation of this story is a refugee family, a school carnival, and a coach who recognized something that the record books have since confirmed. What Gout Gout has done to the Australian and world record books since that school carnival is not a gradual progression, it is a sustained assault. At 14, he broke the Australian under-16 100-meter record, running 10.57 seconds. At 15, he shattered the Australian under-18 200-meter record with 20.87 seconds. At 16, he ran 20.04 seconds in December 2024 to break Usain Bolt's own under-16 world age record in the 200 meters. Bolt had held that benchmark at 20.13. World Athletics took notice. Adidas took notice. The entire sprint community took notice. At 17, he made his World Athletics Championships debut in Tokyo, advancing through his 200-meter heat before finishing 4th in his semifinal in 20.36, one place outside the final. Valuable experience, not a disaster. At 18, in February 2026, he ran 10.00 seconds, a legal time, an Australian under-20 100-meter record, before producing the 19.67 world under-20 200-meter record in Sydney in April. Every single one of these records arrived at an earlier age than Bolt reached the same milestone. That is not a talking point. That is the chronological, documented, verifiable truth. When Usain Bolt saw footage of Gout Gout running, he went to Instagram and commented that Gout looked like a young version of himself. That comment from the man who holds the 100-meter world record of 9.58 and the 200-meter world record of 19.19 should be understood for what it actually is. Not flattery, not politeness, but recognition. Bolt has watched thousands of young sprinters come through the sport. He does not make that comment lightly. But Bolt also went to CNN and delivered a warning that deserves equal attention. He said that at that young age, you start getting pulled left and right and forget track and field. He urged Gout to find the right people to keep him focused, recalling his own experience of feeling on top of the world as a teenager, and then discovering how different and how overwhelming the senior circuit actually was. The Bolt comparison is powerful, but Bolt himself is the one telling us it comes with a danger, and the danger is distraction. Gout is already a global figure at 18. He has a reported $6 million Adidas sponsorship deal structured through to the 2032 Brisbane Olympics. He is being interviewed by CNN, featured across international media, and watched by millions of Australians every time he steps on a track. The pressure that comes with all of that at 18 years old is immense. What Bolt went through in his teenage years and what Gout is navigating now are remarkably similar situations. And Bolt is close enough to his own history to know exactly which part of that road is the most dangerous. The Diamond League debut in Oslo on June 10, 2026, gave the sport its first real look at how Gout handles senior elite competition over a full race distance. He finished 6th in the 200 meters, running 20.60 seconds in a field that included Olympic champion Letsile Tebogo. 6th place and 20.60 seconds is not a headline performance, and it was not meant to be. What it was, for anyone watching with actual analytical eyes, rather than hype-driven expectations, was exactly the kind of race a teenage sprinter needs in his first Diamond League appearance. A read of the environment, a feel for the pace, a lesson in what senior championship racing actually demands. 6 days later in Ostrava at the Golden Spike meeting, Gout lined up in a 150-meter race alongside Noah Lyles, the reigning Olympic 100-meter champion. Lyles ran 14.67 seconds to set a world best for the distance and delivered one of the performances of the 2026 season. Gout finished 3rd in 14.96 seconds, a world under 20 record for the 150 meters and an outright Australian record. He finished 3rd in a race where a world best was broken. He was 3 places behind the Olympic champion. He is 18 years old. The framing of that result as anything other than deeply promising requires a fundamental misunderstanding of where this athlete currently is in his development curve. The $6 million Adidas deal, reported to run from 2024 through to the 2032 Brisbane Olympics, is the most instructive single data point in this entire story if you know how to read it. Adidas does not spend that kind of money on teenagers based on potential alone. They spend it on certainty, on athletes whose trajectory, physical profile, technical foundation, and competitive mentality combine to produce a near-guaranteed return on investment across a decade of competition. The deal was specifically structured to allow Gout to remain in Australia, continue his education at Ipswich Grammar School, and develop under Di Shepherd without being relocated or rushed into a professional training environment before he was ready. That is not a corporation chasing a headline. That is a corporation protecting an asset they believe will become the defining face of global sprinting through 2 Olympic Games. Brisbane, 2032 sits at the center of everything. Gout will be 24 years old, statistically in the prime window for a 200-meter sprinter, competing on home soil in front of the country that produced him. If the trajectory holds, that is the collision point between his development curve and the biggest stage the sport can offer. Gout Gout is not competing at the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. The decision was made to skip that competition and focus entirely on the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Oregon later in 2026. The same competition that, in 2002 in Kingston, Jamaica, served as the moment Usain Bolt announced himself to the world. Bolt was 15 years old when he won that World Junior title in front of a home crowd. Gout will be 18 when he races in Oregon, older and more developed, competing for the same validation that Bolt received on that Kingston track 24 years ago. The parallel between their trajectories is not manufactured. It exists in the calendar, in the competition, and in the record books. Whether Gout wins in Oregon or not, the stage he is about to occupy is the exact stage where the sport first understood what Bolt was becoming. The question the athletics world is quietly sitting with right now is whether Oregon 2026 is the moment we understand the same thing about Gout Gout. Here's the verdict. Stated plainly, nobody can promise you that Gout Gout becomes Usain Bolt. The sport has a complicated history with prodigies, athletes who arrive with extraordinary teenage numbers and then level off, get injured, lose motivation, or simply discover that the senior circuit has a ceiling they cannot break through. That is a real possibility, and anyone pretending it is not has not watched enough athletics. But here's what is not a possibility, not a projection, and not a narrative constructed for clicks: the record book. At 18 years old, Gout Gout is the only teenager in the history of the sport who can say he was faster over 200 meters than Usain Bolt was at the same age. His 19.67 sits where it sits. It is ratified, wind legal, and permanent. The records he has broken from age 14 through to now form a line of progression that the sport has not seen from a teenager since Bolt himself was drawing those same comparisons from a different island on the other side of the world. Whether that line continues upward, flattens, or bends, That is the story the next several years will write. Right now, in the summer of 2026, that line is pointing somewhere that makes the entire athletics world lean forward.